The comic book of Shifting Shadows. Ernie Whitaker, a scrawny seventh grader with buck teeth and glasses that slid down his nose, was a walking target at St. Augustine's Catholic School. His tie, a mandatory part of the uniform, dangled like a noose, and his book bag sagged with dog-eared paperbacks and superhero comics. The other boys, with their polished shoes and cruel smirks, called him Bucky Beaver or Nerd, their taunts sharper than any bruise. Each week Ernie trudged home, tears staining his freckled cheeks, his mother's gentle words drowned by their laughter. One gray Saturday his grandmother, a wiry woman with a voice like a rusted hin, drove him to the dusty page, a bookstore wedged between a laundromat and a pawnshop. The shop was a maze of warped shelves, heavy with the scent of incense and mildew. Faded posters of pulp heroes, sword-wielding warriors, masked vigilantes, peeled from the walls. In the corner a comic section glowed with vibrant covers, and Ernie's heart leapt. Superheroes were his sanctuary, their bold worlds a shield against the gray cruelty of his own. He sifted through Spider-Man and Batman issues, but his fingers paused at a stack of comics hidden behind tattered X-Men. Their covers were muted, the art jagged and wrong, a skeletal hand clawing from a grave, a figure with eyes like shattered glass, a city swallowed by writhing shadows. The titles seemed to twist under his gaze. Tales of the unseen, whispers from beyond. A chill crawled up his spine, equal parts fear and fascination, like standing at the edge of a void. One book stood apart. Its cover was black as pitch, marked by a single rune that pulsed faintly, as if alive. It felt heavy, ancient, its edges frayed, but its presence profound, as if it had waited for him. Ernie opened it, and the pages exhaled a scent of damp earth and something metallic, like blood. The stories were chaotic, ink-sketched horrors of zombies, serpents, and things without names. The words writhed, forming new tales each time he blinked. A whisper, faint as a distant wind, brushed his ear. Choose me. He snapped the book shut, heart pounding, but its pull was magnetic. Ernie, move it, his grandmother barked. He clutched the comic and hurried to the counter. The shopkeeper, a gaunt man with eyes like fogged glass, stared at the book, then at Ernie. That one's got its own mind, he murmured. Heed it. Ernie's grandmother paid without comment, her lips tight, and they left, the comic burning a hole in Ernie's bag. At home under a trembling flashlight, Ernie read the comic, its pages alive with terror. A zombie story gripped him. A shambling corpse with hollow eyes, tearing through a screaming crowd. It scared him, yet he read it again, drawn to its raw power. The rune glowed faintly, and the whisper returned, Use me. Sometimes the pages turned on their own, revealing glimpses of fire and shadow that vanished when he looked closer. Monday brought the usual torment. After school, Tommy, a hulking eighth grader with a sneer like a switchblade, cornered Ernie outside a shuttered storefront. Steve, a wiry new kid who trailed Tommy's crew, snickered in the background. Nice tie, Bucky, Tommy said, nodding Ernie's tie to the iron gating. Ernie tugged at it, panic rising as Tommy's friends laughed and sauntered off. Tears blurred his vision as he rummaged through his book bag for scissors. The comic slipped out, falling open to the zombie story. The air grew rank with decay, the ground trembling faintly. A guttural moan slithered through the dust, not from Ernie, but from the shadows. The rune flared, casting a sickly green glow, and the pages shimmered. From the book, a zombie lurched into being, its flesh gray and peeling, maggots writhing in oozing sores. Its jaw hung loose, teeth jagged and black, dripping with viscous ooze that hissed on the pavement. The creature shambled past Ernie, who pressed himself against the gate, and fell upon Tommy, who had lingered to gloat. Tommy's screams turned to gurgles as the zombie's claws tore into his chest, ripping through muscle and sinew. Blood sprayed, painting the storefront, as its teeth sank into his throat, cartilage crunching. His ribcage cracked open, organs spilling like wet rags, and his body twitched, reduced to a mangled heap, his tie soaked red. The zombie vanished and the comic lay closed, its rune dim. Ernie kept the secret. The comic was his guardian, its whispers his guide. A month later, Jake, one of Tommy's crew, chased Ernie into the town's old graveyard one moonless night, taunting him with a flashlight. Run, Bucky, Jake jeered, his voice echoing among the tombstones. Ernie stumbled over a cracked grave, his book bag spilling. The comic fell open to a new story. A spectral banshee, its face a hollow mask of agony, its mouth a gaping void. The air turned frigid, the rune pulsing like a dying star. A piercing wail split the night, vibrating through Ernie's bones. The banshee emerged, its translucent form shimmering with malice, its hair writhing like serpents, each strand tipped with a glowing ember. Jake froze, his flashlight clattering to the ground. The banshee's scream intensified, a sound that clawed at Ernie's ears, and Jake's skin began to tear. Thin strips peeled from his arm, then his face, as if invisible razors sliced him apart. Blood streamed, pooling in the dirt as his flesh shredded, exposing glistening muscle and jagged bone. His eyes bulged, bursting in their sockets with a wet pop, and his screams choked off as his jaw unhinged, torn free by the whale's force. His body collapsed, a flayed ruin, tendons dangling like frayed ropes. The banshee dissolved into mist, and the comic snapped shut. By the end of seventh grade, Sarah, a girl who mocked Ernie's glasses, taunted him in the school courtyard. The comic fell open to a story of a serpent with eyes like mirrors. A gorgon slithered from the pages, its body a grotesque coil of scales and spines, its face a nest of writhing snakes. Each snake's eyes glowed, locking onto Sarah's. She gasped, her taunts dying as her skin hardened, turning gray and cracked. Her fingers stiffened, crumbling to dust, and her face froze in a silent scream, her eyes clouding like marble. The gorgon snakes hissed, their venom dripping onto the ground, sizzling through grass. Her body petrified fully, veins of stone splitting her skin, her bones grinding audibly as they solidified. By morning, the statue was dust, unexplained. Early in eighth grade, Steve, now a bolder bully since Tommy's disappearance, cornered Ernie behind the gym. The comic fell open to a story of a shape-shifting horror, a mass of flesh and tendrils defying form. The air grew heavy, reeking of oil and rot, the rune blazing with a crimson pulse. The creature emerged, a writhing abomination, its body a pulsating blob of muscle, eyes, and teeth sprouting at random. It mimicked Steve's face for a moment, his own eyes staring back in mockery before splitting apart, revealing a maw lined with jagged spines. Steve screamed as tendrils lashed out, piercing his arms and legs, pulling him into the creature's core. His skin tore like wet paper, blood and bones splattering as the monster's mouth gnawed through his torso. His ribs snapped, organs bursting under the pressure, and his screams became wet gurgles as his body was reduced to a pulpy mess, absorbed in the horror's shifting mass. Chunks of flesh fell, dissolving into the creature's form, and it collapsed into itself, vanishing. The comic closed. The comic's power grew clearer, its whispers louder. Take what you want. Ernie's fear mingled with exhilaration. By ninth grade, the bullying had faded, but his resentment hadn't. He began to experiment. When a jock named Brad tripped him in the cafeteria, Ernie opened the comic to a story of a faceless specter that fed on guilt. Brad vanished that night, his screams echoing in the wind. When Ernie wanted to impress Lily, the school's golden girl, he opened a tale of a charming phantom. The next day Lily smiled at him, her eyes glazed with an unnatural glow, and asked him to the dance. Lily was more than a prize. She was sharp-witted, her laugh bright but her gaze piercing. At the diner, sharing a milkshake, she spotted the comic in his bag and reached for it. "What's that?" she asked, her fingers brushing the cover. Ernie yanked it back, heart racing, as the rune flared briefly. "Just a comic," he snapped. Her eyes narrowed. "It's creepy, Ernie. You're different when you hold it, like it's controlling you." He laughed it off, but her words stung. Later, when he left the table, Lily glanced at the book in his bag, her hand hovering, but she pulled back, uneasy. Lily saw through people, and Ernie felt exposed. Still she stayed, drawn to his confidence, though her glances at the book grew wary. By 10th grade, Ernie had transformed. The scrawny kid was gone, replaced by a boy in a leather jacket, his nerdy look traded for a swagger. He used the comic to bend the world, popularity, respect, Lily's affection. But the book stories darkened, the rune burning brighter. Whispers haunted his dreams. You take, you pay. Shadows moved when no one was there, and the pages turned unbidden, showing fire and torment. One autumn evening, Ernie and Lily sat on a park bench, her head on his shoulder, the dusk soft around them. The comic slipped from his bag, falling open to a new story. The air grew cold, the rune blazing like a dying star. The pages showed a figure in a circle of fire, its face a mask of agony, its name inked in blood, Mephistopheles. Ernie tried to close the book, but it burned his fingers, the pages unyielding. A voice like grinding stones filled the air. You've taken much, Ernest Whitaker. Now you pay. From the pages rose a nightmare, a twisted reflection of Ernie. Its face was his own, buck teeth warped into jagged fangs, glasses cracked and glowing with hellfire. Its body was a mass of oozing sores and writhing scars, each pulsing with Ernie's sins. Every bully he'd destroyed, every selfish wish. The air reeked of sulfur and regret, the creature's eyes boring into Ernie's soul, forcing him to see his actions: Tommy's mangled corpse, Jake's flayed ruin, Sarah's crumbling form, Steve's pulpy remains, Lily's glazed eyes. "You made me," the demon hissed, its voice Ernie's own, warped and cruel. "Now face yourself," Lily screamed, scrambling back, but Ernie was frozen. The creature's claws sank into his chest, unraveling his essence. His skin blistered, melting like wax as the ground split beneath him. His mind burned with visions of his cruelty, each memory a knife. Flames erupted, and Ernie's screams mingled with Lily's as he was dragged into a void of fire and shadow, his body dissolving into ash. The park fell silent. Lily knelt, sobbing, staring at the empty bench. The comic lay closed, its rune faded to black. She reached for it, then recoiled, running away. A curious boy picked it up, tucking it under his arm. The dusty page was always looking for new stock,